Afternoon, wherever you're joining us for today's online event, Digital Supply Chain Twins. My name is Nicole Bamford, and I'm the moderator for today's session. On behalf of the Industrial Transformation Network team, we thank you for joining us today. This session, Use Cases for Digital Twin in Supply Chain within the Healthcare and Manufacturing Industries, will be presented by Pinak Shah, SVP Chief Supply Chain Officer at OSF Healthcare System, and Adam Nuttall, Senior Materials Manager at the Toro Company. And their presentation promises to be well worth the listen. Before we get started, here are some quick administrative points. During the webinar, if you have questions for our presenters, please submit them in the Q&A box on your screen, and these will be answered during the question portions of the webinar. Likewise, for any technical issues, please write them into the Q&A section and we'll get to them right away. You will notice the widgets on your screen can be resized and dragged around for your viewing preferences. So now make sure you're sitting comfortably, and I'll now hand it over to Pinak so we can begin.
Good morning, good afternoon. This is Pinak Shah, Senior Vice President, Chief Supply Chain Officer for OSF Healthcare. OSF Healthcare is a mission-based organization. We are 15 hospitals in the state of Illinois and one in Michigan State. 3.1 billion revenue. We have close to 24,000 employees. We call employees mission partner, being mission oriented. And we have various physician practice, ambulatory care, 147. And we see close to 1.7 million outpatient visits, and inpatient is around 81,000 admissions. 11 of them are 43 are ergo centers, urgent care centers, and supply chain supports all of them at this point. And that's where our OSF network is built on. Pretty much in healthcare since 1847, almost 144 years now within healthcare. Our improved patient outcome is our goal with clinical measures, enhancing our operational efficiencies. Increased performance, financial performance, which is very important at this point to make sure that this healthcare has a margin to make money. And we have wanted to make sure that our employees are enriched with physicians and patient satisfaction. Our managed care, managed service, which comprises of 5 services that we build. Supply chain is one of them. We do close to $1 billion contracting through our department in supply chain. We do have construction services that we build facilities, buildings for our own and for our members at this point. The technology is basically the end-to-end technology service that a healthcare needs has been managed at that point. Healthcare technology management is our biomed equipment that we manage at that point, and the business service that is back-end office that we control to manage service for entire health system. So our digital platform started looking into our current state, which was very manual, repetitive, very inefficient, and very slow to make a lot of changes at that point. We did have our EMR system for patient records and everything. We do have our ERP system. We had many systems on analytics and other pieces, but they were all manual and non-efficient, not talking to each other. Some report writing you run in various systems to get what it is. So we started talking about innovations and how do we make a bi-modular system so that it's automated where possible, it's enhanced visibility, very quick responsive system so that we can react to it very quickly and also reduce our exposure to risk at this point, financial and clinical risk at this point. So that was what we were looking at, and we were building our digital transformation through the process. Working with TADA now, we started looking into digital twins for supply chain. At this point, TADA has been in other industries within other than non-healthcare, but in many manufacturing and other places, and they have been performing some of the digital fabrics that works with other automobile and engineering industries, and that's where we started looking for our own healthcare vertical digital platform. It has to be a agile platform so that it can talk to various data lakes, supply chain ERP, and also we don't want to have code on the system, so it has no flexible codes on the system that allows. So that was our partnership. We started looking and we found, and TADA had all of this capability that helps us build on that. So TADA's solution was basically divided into three processes: build, mine, and blast. The digital twin of the network, the neural network, needs to be built so that we can have that capability to do what needs to be done with various systems. There were a lot of spreadsheets, there were various systems, there were many reports that were run out of the database but not talking, and you have to manipulate that information. So we wanted to build TADA now to make sure that the twin tower helps us look at any slice and dice of the information we wanted and the way we wanted to build it. And then we started binding together like our asset management and our supply chain was with pretty much manual and different application, and we started building the fabric. And then the methodology was used to blast so that you can have full connectivity at this point on our case. So within supply chain transformation and asset management, when we talk asset, we are talking biomed equipment in our healthcare vertical, just for clarification. But in supply chain, we started looking that we wanted to increase our productivity by 15%. That was our basic goal, so that we could manage an efficient, productive staff at that point, reduce our spend on net patient revenue by 1%, and reduce our supply cost per adjusted patient day by 1%. That's how we started our target on our digital platform. And with looking at that, we designed the modules that needs to go, like building a supply chain control tower, product conformity tower, predictive power management. A power is something that is a front-end store that is on each nursing floor that supports that anywhere from 12 to 48 bed nursing floor, and the supplies for that clinical is on that power front-end store that they go and get that product from that. Overall managed spend, risk and resiliencies, we manage all the contract and how do we bind that contract, compliance to get to where we want it, and supplier collaboration to look at tier 2, tier 3 mapping of shortages that we see nowadays more in our healthcare right now, very much that needs to be looked at and mitigate that risk and resilience at that point. On the asset management, we wanted the total cost of service. How do we manage? How do we do preventive maintenance and labor deployment, total cost of ownership, where the equipment capital planning was big. We have 57,000 various portable equipment floating around in our 15 facilities, and we wanted to make sure that the end of the life and end of the service needs to be looked at, and how much capital needs to be planned for next 5-10 years projection. And utilization is the key on asset management. If I had an IV pump sitting there for 20% utilized and I'm using capital, we wanted to make sure that the utilization is properly managed at that point. So TADA and OSF, basically we started looking TADA with OSF to try to build our digital footprints and try to work on together as a team. So within an example of power management, which is the front-end store on a nursing floor, we started building optimize the inventory so that we have 2-bin system on each floor and try to start optimizing that inventory, created a scenario planning, what if, what else, what different scenarios, and started forecasting on that. To gain efficiencies, it's the next level that we wanted to start planting on workflows, predictive analysis. How does stock out happen, and when does the seasonal stock out frequency, and what needs to be properly powered so that you have minimum stock outs for the clinicals on the nursing floor. And end-to-end visibility is trying to build the next level for that. During the blast phase, we started integrating asset management with supply chain with our integrated solutions at this point. Integrated solution is a managed service internally, which is called integrated solutions. And we started building all the blocks to build that together and start tying and binding them together to make it as the seamless, so that if an asset is planned for retirement, you know that your service contract needs to be looked at, as well as you need to manage that capital planning for the cash flow, and also try to put that RFP together so that the contracts are in alignment with the retirement of an asset, and trying to get to the final cost to serve or end-to-end supply chain visibility at that point. In asset management, as I said, utilization, what is my revenue or arbitration, what is my ROI on that investment that's going in, and trying to build cost to serve or replacement cost that I need to have a complete digital footprint for us. Coming back with this is the closing thoughts. Digital transformation is inevitable. We need to start now. Everybody needs to look at, we have tons of ERP data, tons of other digital or other data, but we have not bind it together. That's why digital transformation, digital twin is a must, and we need to start now. You need to also I had to go through the entire education, buying into my executives and operating team, buy in to make that it works, and then they were on board with that whole process. Analyze your use case to determine what will be the best for you. We put out a lot of scenarios that we need to build here, and then we have to figure out these are the things that we want to reduce our cost or increase efficiency with our labor. So we build our cases around that. The team needs to be, the skill within our team has to be enhanced, because people were very much focused into their own transaction within ERP, and you have to take them into the new digital world to understand that this is all the difference, so that you're building your skill set within your team to make it happen. And the right technology for implementation for us was TADA now, which we started looking at that fabric and figure out that the digital twin fabric, they have built a very good backbone, which has no code and all of that, and it's agile and flexible. So make it easy for us. And then basically it needs to be prepared to pivot to where we need to take it to the next amendment. That's the healthcare journey. We have started our journey. We have built a couple of applications and towers right now. And I would take any question, Nicole, if any.
Great. Thank you so much, Pinak. All right, so if anyone has any questions, please put them into the Q&A box, and we're going to jump over to Adam, who is going to talk a little bit about the Toro company, and then we will circle back for Q&A for both Pinak and Adam.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for that introduction. Like I said, my name's Adam Nuttall. I'm the senior materials manager at the Toro company, and I support the Toma factory in Toma, Wisconsin. The Toro company, we make a wide variety of products. We have a lot of brands that people have heard, from Toro to Ditch Witch and Exmark, Boss and Ventrac, and newly acquired Spartan. We have quite a few companies that have rolled onto the Toro brand. And today we're focusing on the discussion of our digital supply chain twin that we built for the factory in Toma. So the Toma factory, some data on it. We have around 700 employees, hourly employees, and our factory is around 600,000 square feet. It's a fairly complicated factory. We've got 22 different assembly lines. We have 30,000 part numbers that make up around 1,900 different finished goods SKUs. We do in Toma make some of the best equipment in the world for our golf courses that you see on TV, US Open, Augusta National, St. Andrews, Pebble Beach. They all use our products. So these are the mowers we make here in Toma. not what you'd be cutting your yard with, but what we sell to some of the best golf courses in the world. So I joined the TOMA team about a year and a half ago, and came in right in the midst of the supply chain disruption that we all are fighting through right now. And one of the big issues that we had a very, I would say, mature workforce, long service employees, some 30, 40-year employees, and a lot of tacit knowledge in the supply chain. So really a really good team and knowing how to do things the way, they've always done it. But with all these changing parameters and issues in the supply chain, the team really struggled because we really lived in a data desert. Tacit knowledge kind of ruled the factory. And so if you needed something, you had to go to the right person that could get you that information. Data was stored in many different places, many different pockets hidden. And so getting accurate, timely answers was a very big struggle. So what that led to is, like most companies, we didn't always know what we could build today. So we didn't know where parts were, where we were on expediting, and it took a lot of just manual coordination to make sure that we got product out the door. Many of these processes, like I said, were very, very manual. Things were done in spreadsheets. So by the time somebody got a spreadsheet, it was changed. It was old. It wasn't accurate anymore. So decisions we were making were based on information that wasn't real time and caused even further disruptions. So we started working with the TADA team and coming up with what we saw as the next generation supply chain for TOMA and creating our digital twin. So what we wanted to do is not create another dashboard, not create another way to look at information, but really give tools to people on the shop floor, because that's where we saw value. We saw internally in our factory, approximately 30% of our disruption was self-caused. And so what we wanted to do is put these digital tools in the hands of supervisors and planners to get all the information into one place so that everybody could make informed decisions in real time and have that visibility of what the factory is doing without sending an email, without making a phone call, just going to data and seeing what the status is. So we were really focused on getting the team more efficient. Average planner in my team gets around 200 emails per day on a good day. And we're getting that down into the teens at this point. Only the really critical, essential emails are filtering in. We wanted to see better schedule attainment. So one of the benefits that we've seen from the current state is people are going outside more, which means golf courses are buying more equipment. So we're at an all-time high as far as demand for our product. So the more product we can build, the more we can sell, and that's definitely a benefit to our shareholders and to our employees. And then our warehouse, right now we're at an all-time high, but with the disruption, our inventory levels are higher. So as we build this digital twin, being able to get visibility and optimize our inventory levels, that's a key benefit that we're driving to with our digital twin. So what we did is we built several different tools. Right now we've got around 30 different tools that are available for our teams to use. But again, we have executive dash levels where people can look and see what the results are. But this is really getting tools in the hands of the operators. So instead of a manual scheduling process where people are going on pencil and paper and writing out what we should be building on the shop floor, we're pulling that data out of SAP. We're looking at a clean to build to see what we can build, and then all that is automated in the control tower. That efficiency gain that we see in that is really a game changer for our team. The other area that we've seen a lot of benefit is by putting these tools in people's hands, the manual collection of data now goes away. So frontline supervisors are putting in information into the system when a line goes down by part number or by supplier. And then in real time, when somebody asks what the status is of a line, what part number has been taking us down as far as production, we can quickly show very accurate, very quick information to whoever needs it instead of having to go and ask somebody pull a report and play Excel yoga. That doesn't drive value, right? The data drives the value when we put the data in front of the people. So specifically, we had one full-time employee that was at the supervisor level in the past would go around and try to collect all this data. Now we've automated that entire process and reallocated that resource to more projects to gain more efficiencies in other areas of the factory. So that whole process of going station to station and collecting data is now fully automated. The other thing that I find just really interesting when we put all this data together and provided it to our people, we went from training timelines that would normally take 4 weeks to 8 weeks to get somebody, I would say, started in a new job or a new role. We've actually been able to compress that down into minutes of training. So we lost 75 years of experience in 2 specific employees, and we were able to replace that as they moved on to other roles with 0 training, because their job is now all in one platform and all that data is in one spot. So the new supervisor that came in saw all the data in front of them and was able to start working, effectively immediately without really even a handoff. It's here's the information for you to make decisions to. Let's start making progress. And that's the last slide that I had.
Great, thanks, Adam. Well, I'm happy to go to Q&A. The first question we have is for Pinak. It is interesting to see the correlation between Toro operations and healthcare operations. The variable in healthcare seems to be much more complex when it comes to outcomes. Pinak, do you feel there is a potential that a digital twin can be applied to clinical cases and its associated cost, supplies, staff?
Great questions. Thank you for that. Yes, definitely we are building right now cost, supply, and staff for the first piece, and then tying back to cost to serve. That will bring to our clinical case outcome, saying that if what with the Casemix index, what type of complexity we have. We do have our each vertical OR outcomes, but they are silo in that piece. It doesn't talk to supply chain. So first step is to build the cost supply first, which we are building at this point with equipment and complexity that rightly said, and then tying back to our patient population and the clinical outcomes. So that's the step 2 of the process on the blast and the build phase.
Great, thanks so much. Next question works for both of you. I'll give it to Adam first, is how did the TADA Now application stand out above other applications which had you choose it?
So I'll start. I do have a long history with the TADA Now team. There's a level of trust that has been built over many years, but really the simplicity and the rapid deployment is what really intrigued me, because like I said, we were coming from a data desert, and sometimes digital projects, when you don't have good clean data, they don't go very far. They tend to grind to a halt. But I had the confidence, as we talk more and more to the TADA Now team, that we can come up with solutions, fairly elegant solutions, even when we had bad or poor data. And so we've used this digital platform to improve our data, and in turn that improves our overall control tower. So that was really one thing that stood out, is their ability to manage through data difficulties, but then also very, very quick.
Great. And Pinak, your thoughts on the question?
We started our journey looking at like 15 years of ERP and EMR data, but wanted to build something with this, like rightly said by Adam, that it's a data deserts. You have to tie so much reporting together to get what you need to do. And looking at various tools, more where BI, not really digital twin or digitization. When people talk, it was more differently differentiated. TADA brings that you don't have to run your operation different. It was no coding. You bring the information together and makes it easy for us to build what we wanted to build at that point. Also, within supply chain, TADA has a lot of experience other than healthcare, but has tons of experience in forecasting and tier supplier collaboration and other places, helps us expedite that process quickly to build what needs to be built. We are building some nuances for healthcare with TADA now, and they have great developers working with us to build what needs to be done to write our algorithms to make it happen. So that was the point of selection why we went with local TADA and make it that as a platform for us.
Great, thank you so much. Next question is for Pinak as well. How do you manage regulatory compliance related changes in the healthcare space that might affect the digital twin application?
This is a great question. We are still working. We have our own CMS guidelines and regulatory compliance method with our risk and compliance manager. This is not yet, this may be phase 2 or phase 3 of our to bring it together, not yet designed or worked on that. So once we build supply chain, we integrate clinical component would be then the regulatory compliance. Right now, still it's silo within their own vertical.
Great, thank you so much. All right, gentlemen, that's all there is for questions today. I'd like to take the time to thank you both very much for your very informative webinar. I'd also like to thank everyone watching, wherever you are, for taking the time to listen in. If you want to listen to this webinar again, the session will be available on demand shortly. Our next session, The Future of Digital Supply Chain Twins, Evaluating the Long-Term Potential of Digital Twin Adoption, will be starting in 15 minutes. You can join by clicking the button that appears on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And again, thank you so much, Adam and Pinak, for your time today. And everyone else, we'll see you on the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.